Hey everybody! Welcome back to our channel. I hope you're enjoying the summer so far. We have been. Here's some videos of the dogs enjoying the weather. Things have been totally busy, but we're still working away on the trailer. Here's kind of where we left off from the last video. A whole bunch of rotting wood. Everything's exposed. It looks horrible. It looks scary. But I am happy to share that it looks a lot better now. And I can't wait for you guys to see the transformation that we've gone through over the past couple of months, so stay tuned. Dylan started with his saw and went in and cut any pieces of wood that were damaged from the water leak. So anything that was rotted or just looked structurally compromised, he went through and cut that out with his Sawzall. Now I promise you, I told him about 150 times he should be wearing gloves, he should be wearing better boots, he should be wearing eye protection. You don't have to come for me, I already told him, he knows. I went to school for human resources, so that's the health and safety within me talking. Then to clean up the remaining plywood that was attached underneath the bathroom wall, Dylan used an oscillating tool and just kind of removed all of that plywood so it had a nice straight edge. Once all the edges were sorted out and everything was vacuumed and nice, Dylan started framing. So we used 2x3s and he's just drilling them in with an impact driver. I'm pretty sure he was just using regular multi-purpose framing screws, but I will check with him on that. And this process took quite a bit of time, so even though it is sped up, I am going to skip and show you the result right here. One thing I wasn't expecting was just how much you have to vacuum after every little step to keep everything nice and tidy, so that's something to think about while you're doing this for sure. One thing that's really interesting is how the frame for the flooring actually is connected to the trailer. So you'll see there's a big bolt, and that goes through the wood and then through the trailer itself, and Dylan's tightening that from the bottom of the trailer right now in this video, and I'll show you from the inside. The bolt I'm talking about is right behind the hammer right now, you can just see it, and that goes all the way down through that piece of wood and down into the structural frame of the trailer. So make sure you have that. Ours was completely rusted. There's about 6 of them, I believe, or 4 of them in that area of the trailer. Make sure that those are not rusted out. We did have to replace them just to make sure that our trailer doesn't fall apart on us. And what Dylan's doing now is just making sure that the siding of the trailer is sitting up flush against the frame. So he's lifting up. There's a little frame around the basement or garage door, whatever you want to call it. So he's lifting that up and pushing to make sure that everything is sitting nice and square and flush. And here's that bolt from the underside, just so you get a view of what that looks like. So Dylan would take the piece of wood where the bolt would be, and he would cut it to length, and then from there he would mark where the bolt would sit on the piece of wood on both sides, and then he would go ahead with a drill bit and drill a hole through it so that the bolt could slide through all the way through the trailer, and then there's a nut at the very bottom, as you just saw. That hole right there that Dylan just pointed to is the one we've been talking about that the bolt goes through. So as you can see, the bolt is already through the piece of wood in that hole that he just made. He's tapping it with a hammer to get it to go inside of the hole, and from there you secure it underneath the trailer with a nut. And this is what it looks like underneath the trailer. So that bolt right there goes all the way through the framing wood, through the trailer, and out the other end. Next, we used some tuck tape to cover any micro tears or small tears that we had in the membrane underneath the frame. So make sure you use interior and exterior tuck tape, which is the blue one, not the red one, because the hole is leading to the exterior. So use the blue tuck tape and cover any holes that you might have in the membrane underneath the frame. Next, it was time for insulation. So make sure you're buying bats of insulation that are quite narrow, since these are some narrow frames. and we still had to cut them down to size. So make sure you have a knife with you as well. And all Dylan's doing here is measuring it up against the size of the holes in the frames, and from there he's cutting it to size. Make sure it's not fit in there too tightly, but yeah, that's all he's doing here. I'm actually really excited about this space. If you remember from previous videos, this used to be our bed, but we're now converting it into the dinette and moving the bed to the back of the trailer. And I've been looking at cabinets, so we're hoping to make this a really spacious, multi-use space with lots of cabinetry and lots of storage. So I'm really excited about this space. So we also picked up at the same time as our insulation a bunch of plywood. Make sure you're getting the same thickness as the existing plywood, otherwise you're going to have a massive lip. And what Dylan's doing here, we did get the correct size of plywood, but one of the joists was a little bit too thick, and so it wasn't sitting super flush. So he just about sanded it down. He removed the insulation so he could vacuum up the mess. He's very good about keeping things clean like that. And here he is putting it back down. Everything's sitting flush. Everything's perfect. I recorded this footage almost a week ago, and I've got to say there is still a sheet of plywood in my car. I haven't removed it yet, just a piece of scrap. But it's quite a large piece, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that. We don't have a garage, so that makes things quite difficult to store. So yeah, just a fun fact, I still have a piece of plywood in my car. It's quite a large piece. And here's Dylan, he's attaching them, or I shouldn't say attaching them, he's screwing it down. Again, I think he was just using framing screws or decking screws. But yeah. I asked Dylan why he was putting so many screws in. I thought it was a little overkill, but apparently you're supposed to put them in every 6 inches. That's what he told me. It sounds like a lot to me, but that floor is not going anywhere. And I'm actually very excited to start picking out flooring samples. We're going to go with probably like a vinyl or a laminate, something light. But I want something that looks like wood, something maybe like a light ashy oaky color. So if you have any ideas of what we should do with the flooring, comment them below. Dylan's writing down measurements right now because we're going to have to notch out a hole for that floor vent. And it's going to be interesting because we don't have a jigsaw. So we're going to have to use a mixture of different tools. Here's me bringing Dylan some juice. I'm going to just skip ahead because again, it's just Dylan screwing that down a trillion times every 6 inches. So make sure you're doing the same thing. But I'm going to skip further in the video. And this is what it looked like after he was done the subflooring. He also started to insulate the walls, which looked amazing. It's really starting to come together now. There's also a massive hole in the ceiling. But I think that's another video for another time. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Stay tuned for the next video, and we'll see you soon. Bye.